what I'm trying to present you is a critical view on what is this exactly Bitcoin, what does it means for us, for the world at large, where it comes from, where it starts, what are the flows. What is Bitcoin? First of all, what is money, most importantly, and is this the end of a taboo? So the difference between these presentations, what we have seen before and what we see now, is not exactly the criticism. Bitcoin is not exactly the criticism to a global market. Some of us are anyway critic to globalization, I am. But it's the criticism to the pyramid, to the fact that you have to trust an organization to write off what you have and what you spend, to the fact that you have to trust the top of the pyramid to actually say how much money do you have and how much you can transfer and how much you cannot. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer, or better, I'd like to say clustered currency. So basically, it is a finite resource. The maximum Bitcoins in the world will be 21 millions by design. It allows 8 floating point digits after these 21 millions, so it can be divided pretty much. And they are mined, created, and spent without the need to have any trust in who is giving them to you or whom you are giving them. You don't need to know this person. You don't need a third party to have a record of this person. You don't need a bank to actually be the man in the middle. You don't need an organization to say, okay, I gave this money and this money was spent this way. Everyone knows about this. That's the kind of crazy thing. But you don't need to know who is who. So basically, Bitcoin is cash. We are back to the cash days in which you can have cash, you can step into a shop, buy something, and just get away with that something without being asked who are you, without being recorded, and without being registered. Miners are mining Bitcoins through a trial and error algorithm. They are finding numbers that exist in mathematical nature, at least in Western tradition. They look for numbers, and as much as people look for these numbers, it's harder to find new ones. So more computational power is required. The first miners who arrive, they find more. The latest you arrive, you find less. This creates an economy in which the early miners, the early pioneers, as in the gold rush, they have more, and it's up to them to distribute it, which I think is one of the biggest challenges of Bitcoin, whether we have hoarders as the first miners or not. It's a pseudonymical currency. It's not anonymous, as many people claimed. To make Bitcoin transactions anonymous, you need to use programs that make your connection anonymous, like Tor, for instance, which is even beta, is not completely working. You have to use precautions that you would use on any internet connection to make your connection anonymous. They are pseudonymical because it can be traced the people that found the Bitcoins, where they went in all the network and where they end. So every time you start Bitcoin on your computer, the computer will start downloading a file that is by now 1 gigabyte big. That file is the history of the whole network. And everyone downloads that file. In the future, it might disappear. We might have just a part of that file, but so far you download all that file, and in that file there is a pseudonymical tree of contracts of all the transactions. Some time ago, back in 2011, I wrote a little mail which was mostly a rant. I posted it on the NetTime, and somebody from the Bitcoin development group ended up reposting it on the Bitcoin forum with the title Bitcoin Manifesto. It ended up being the informal, underground, rented kind of manifesto for Bitcoin. There are 5 points that I made in that mail, which is pretty short, which are actually merging the sensations. They are representing well the sensations of the community. There were a lot of kudos for this little speech, and I would just resume them into these 5 points. Here there is what Rianne will talk about, and I completely agree with her analysis. The start of the Bitcoin mining It was the WikiLeaks financial blockade. This is not a coincidence, and this is all connected. The hacker community stopped believing into the worldwide network that claimed to be neutral, stopped believing in states and in a sovereignty of currency money that we have, when WikiLeaks saw its own Maestro and Visa and PayPal accounts cut off. There was no reason why they should have been cut off, these accounts. There was no court case, there was no court mandate. WikiLeaks has a website about this whole case. It's on wikileaks.ch/financial blockade. And basically this event, which was an event that completely curbed the enthusiasm of someone like Julian Assange, whom you can criticize or not, planned the escalation of this worldwide changing project of transparency on the fact that we would have got like a lot of donations to WikiLeaks. Then in this moment, this project actually stopped this momentum, and the hackers, the hacker community at large, started thinking, okay, this is not reliable anymore, this is not network neutrality, whatever we will do to change the current establishment won't be allowed to exist, because we do have a contract about the neutrality of transactions. So this was violated. But sorry, I'm sure Rianne can document this better. The second moment was the popularization of Bitcoin. We all knew it was going on Forbes within the group. Around here, Satoshi Nakamoto, the mythical creator of Bitcoin, stopped appearing online. There was the financial blockade. Forbes ran an article with Gavin Anderson, the main maintainer, on a 3-page article talking about Bitcoin. Now this, to many, looked like a completely new thing. To those that are into the digital currency development, is not. Here in Amsterdam, nearby, we had David Schaun researching at the Centrum for Wiskunde Informatica for about 5 to 10 years. Few people remember him, but he researched digital currency already back in the 90s. Whatever that happened to it, there was an article on Wired. Back ahead in time, I like to remember it, he was interviewed by Stephen Levy. Up here, other things happened. The Bitcoin conference, the first one in Prague, it was a complete success. People like Max Kaiser, he's running the Financial War Report on Russia TV. He's a completely funny guy, together with a lot of people. And he was there. The founder of the Pirate Party, Sweden, was there to talk. Second Bitcoin conference, we had Birgitta Jonsdottir from the Icelandic Parliament, and all this kind of political discussion that can come out from it. So it kind of went on the popularization and building a consciousness on the political stance that we have. Here is the theft of Bitcoin. So you can see that the growth was actually the biggest theft. About 43,000 Bitcoins were stolen from Bitcoinica. So in such a situation, I like to go back to the present. What I try to do is point out some of the main issues that I think money and finance, as we knew it, is facing. These systems are facing. If we don't want to call them problems, we can call them issues. I think they are serious problems. The cornerstones of this, I think, are resilience, disintermediation, getting rid of the intermediators into the whole money system, transaction system, and banking system. Bitcoin doesn't need banks, but if you want to store Bitcoins, then you can ask someone that you trust better than your own to not be stolen. But essentially, you don't need a bank to own money. Digital immanence, I already quoted. I think the main challenge of Bitcoin is becoming an economy, and I am not all for it. I think Bitcoin might fail, maybe it might fail. On the other side, it is an asset that exists. It's the first digital currency. So another scenario could be that it's used as gold was in the old world, because it's a finite material. It has a fair amount of glory and passion around. There are a lot of jokes, insider jokes, and people that knowing each other since the beginning. And there's this kind of mechanisms that make the network like kind of tight, and there is something that makes it solid in